Welcome to another session of Understanding Human Anatomy. In this session, I'm going to continue our discussion of the pelvis, and in particular, the bones of the pelvis. In the last session, I showed you a sketch of the os coxae, the hip bone, viewed from a lateral perspective. I want to start here with a view of the os coxae from the anterior perspective, and we're going to draw both left and right os coxae in. So I'm going to start here with pubic bone and the ischiopubic ramus down to the ischial tuberosity. I'm going to show a slight indentation that would be the acetabular notch, and then we're going to continue out with the iliac wing and come back down to finish with the superior pubic rim. And we'll draw in the obturator foramen. There's the obturator foramen. Let me clean it up there just a little bit. And then I'll draw in the other side. So again, the ischiopubic ramus, ischial tuberosity, slight indentation for the acetabular notch, and continue out onto the iliac wing, come back around and finish up. And I'll just erase my miscue here. And we'll draw in the obturator foramen on this side as well. So let's label the parts that we have already here. So we have the obturator foramen, and we'll label it in on the other side here as well. We have the ischiotuberosities, on one side, and on the other side. and the iliac wings. On each side. We have the superior pubic ramus, and I'll repeat that over here. And we have the ischiopubic rami, and remember that's a combination of the inferior pubic ramus and the ramus of the ischium. And those are the major features that we've seen previously. Now, I'm going to sketch in a bump, a protrusion on each pubic bone. And these protrusions are the pubic tubercles. And we'll draw a couple of lines to them. And they serve for muscle attachment, particularly the external abdominal oblique has part of its insertion onto the pubic tubercle. Then the two pubic bones are held together with an amphiarthrosis type of joint. And I'm going to close off the area between the two pubic bones and then color in this joint. And this is the symphysis pubis. And the symphysis pubis is a fibrocartilaginous joint that links the two pubic bones across the midline. And I want to draw some lines into it to indicate that it is a very fibrous joint. As I said, it's fibrocartilage. And what that means is that it's a hybrid type of structure between a ligamentous, dense, irregular, collagenous connective tissue and hyaline cartilage. It looks much like a tendon or ligament would look, except that instead of fibroblasts as being the cell types you see that produce the structure, the cells are actually chondrocytes. So let me label this. The pubic symphysis. And we'll draw a line down to it. And again, this is an auntyarthrodeol joint, which means that it's only very slightly movable. So we don't expect a lot of movement in this joint. It's interesting in that during childbirth, during labor, this joint relaxes some to let the two pubic bones move a little bit apart. Now, we're not talking a great distance. It's only a slight increase in the distance between the bones. But even that slight distance opens up the pelvic cavity that allows the baby to transit the pelvic canal, facilitating childbirth. Now, let me draw in a couple of more structures, and I'm going to put them in mainly with dots, and these are the anterior superior and anterior inferior iliac spines. So again, let's do some labeling. And the anterior inferior iliac spine. Draw the line to it, and I'm only going to label those on one side. Now, where the two pubic bones meet, we get an angle, and this angle is called the subpubic angle. So this is the angle inferior to the pubic symphysis. And let me indicate that with some lines here. Like so. So this is the subpubic angle, and we'll see that there are differences in this angle in male and female pelvis, and it is literally the angle formed by the two inferior pubic rami. Now, one more structure I want to show here is the inguinal ligament. And the inguinal ligament attaches to the anterior superior iliac spine and to the pubic tubercle. Let me draw it in on both sides. Okay. This is the inguinal ligament. And we'll draw a couple of lines to it. Again, on each side. The inguinal ligament. The inguinal ligament is actually part of the insertion of the external abdominal oblique. The external abdominal oblique inserts on the anterior superior iliac spine, the pubic tubercle, the pubic bone, and the linea alba, which runs in the midline between the two rectus abdominis muscles. The inferior border of that tendon of insertion forms the inguinal ligament, and you can see that the inguinal ligament creates a passageway between the iliac wing, the superior pubic ramus, and the inguinal ligament for structures to exit the abdomen. And we'll see that there are several structures that come out through this opening. Some muscles, also the femoral artery, the femoral vein passes through here, and the femoral nerve. So this is the anterior view of the os coxae. In the next video, we'll look at the posterior view of the os coxae. Thank you for your attention.